Okay, we are here with our first ever 2018 Golden Globe TV predictions. Paul Sheehan, Daniel Montgomery, Chris Beachum. The question always, guys, and we're going to talk about drama first today. It's always with the Golden Globe voters, what do they keep? What do they get rid of? And what brand new shows do they want to reward? Because that's their whole mentality, it feels like. So last year's drama series winner was The Crown. The only nominee that can't be back this year is Westworld because it's not airing any episodes during 2017. So, Paul, what do you think? Is The Crown, which will debut here in America in just a few weeks, so it will be in under the wire, is it safe? Is it going to be difficult to return?
Oh, I think The Crown's safe to make it back in. I mean, big, prestigious production. They obviously liked it last year. Claire Foy won. But I think that they're going to have such a hard time like they did at the Emmys against something that is much shinier and newer, which is Handmaid's Tale. I mean, I think the Golden Globes will endorse the TV Academy decision, which is unusual for them to play catch up. But they didn't have a chance to reward The Handmaid's Tale last year because it premiered in the spring. But I don't know, Daniel, do you think it's then going to feel too old for the Golden Globe voters to go Handmaid's Tale?
I'm predicting Handmaid's Tale to sort of, until we see the nominations, then we'll see how much every show that's nominated for Best Drama Series is loved, how many acting nominations they get, and whatnot. I've got it predicted because it is the shiniest new show, but it is a little old by Golden Globe standards. A lot of times they like to go with something that premiered in the summer or the fall so that they get the first crack at it. And there are a lot of potential shows like that, like The Deuce, The Good Doctor, Mindhunter, Ozark, and some shows that the Emmys missed, like American Gods. We know that the Golden Globes like Stars a lot more than the Emmys have. So
Stars, the channel. They also like stars as in celebrities.
Yeah, so, both, yeah.
Chris, what they don't seem to like, and I can't figure this one out, and you really are sort of the guru of the Golden Globes, why don't they like Game of Thrones?
I don't know, but we may be in a situation soon where they didn't like Breaking Bad. They really didn't like it at all. It took till the very, very, very end for them to reward Bryan Cranston or the show, never nominated Aaron Paul. And it felt almost like they were guilted into it. Like, we don't like this, but we look stupid if we don't reward this before it's gone. Are we in a situation, they only have 2 more chances to honor Game of Thrones. They have this time, and then Game of Thrones' final season will air next summer. So are they almost in a situation, because it's won the most awards of any drama or comedy at the Emmys now. The only program that's won more is SNL. Are they almost in a situation of almost feeling like they have to give it something big?
And then to what Daniel was saying about shiny and new, I mean, it was out this summer, which meant it was too late for the Emmys. So they do get the bragging rights about welcoming it back before the Emmys get a chance next fall. But the reason we're talking about series as well as the 2 lead acting races, because that's supporting races that catch all with comedy as well as TV, movies, and limited series, is because, Chris, you pointed out they're really interrelated, and Daniel, you just mentioned that too. We have to figure out which ones get the most nominations. So thinking about Handmaid's Tale, Chris, do you see lots of people being nominated from that cast?
Well, of course, Elizabeth Moss, she's probably the front runner to win as well. I don't know on supporting. There's so many actresses in supporting. Will they cancel each other out? Ann Dowd, Samira Wiley. The person maybe to watch for you. They love foreign actors who are working in American projects. They always have. Could a Joseph Fiennes make his way into supporting actor? I could potentially see that happen. That would not be a shocker to me. I think Elizabeth Moss is totally the focus, though, here. And often an acting win will go along with the series win on both drama and comedy. We saw that last year with Claire and The Crown. We saw it with Donald Glover and Atlanta. So I think Elizabeth Moss and Handmaid's Tale makes sense to me. What do you both think?
Yeah, I think Moss and Handmaid's Tale are likely. Another one I was thinking for a potential supporting nomination, given how much the Golden Globe voters like second or third generation stars, is Max Minghella, the son of English Patient director Anthony Minghella. Maybe they'll give him a surprise nomination in supporting actor, and if someone like him got in kind of as a surprise, that would be kind of a signal that The Handmaid's Tale is probably unstoppable for best drama series here. I think if it just gets in Elizabeth Moss, it could still win best drama series, but if it gets in a surprise or two in the supporting categories, that might be a real strong show of support.
Do you think that Stranger Things, because it just started streaming, the second season a couple of weeks ago, they do their voting in a few weeks. Last year they nominated Winona Ryder, up in Best Actress. I mean, she's certainly really central to the second season of the show. And she's sort of she's been around a while, she's a veteran. Could either of you see a scenario where she wins over Elizabeth Moss? Just because, it's under 100 voters. There is the personal touch, if you've gone to certain Golden Globe events and been a friend of theirs, they tend to like their friends.
I don't know if Winona will get in this time, and we're not 100% certain from Netflix quite yet if, at the Emmys she went supporting, did not get in. So are they going to ask the Golden Globe voters, to go with her in lead or supporting this time? They typically go along with whatever is asked of them on the TV side in terms of placement. Whether they get in or not is another story. Let me pull up actress here. Well, let's finish off series first. Stranger Things, we didn't mention This Is Us.
Well, I was just going to, because it's again...
Game of Thrones, The Crown, and Westworld. That was the 5 last year. And
well, This Is Us is airing right now, but there seems to be, the sentiment is, a sophomore slump. I read things online that some people are a little grumbly about the second season of it. So... it is broadcast TV. It is on NBC, which airs the Golden Globes. It can't hurt. I'm sure they're mindful of that. They do want to keep their patrons happy. What do you think, Daniel? Do you think, is it safe for a nomination, This Is Us?
I think it's not 100% safe for a nomination, but it's the kind of show. I think that and Stranger Things, they were so new last year. I think they're even bigger this year in terms of buzz. Even if This Is Us is not as strong in its second season, it's certainly still carrying over a lot of buzz from its first season earlier in the year, and so I think it gets in. I think if they want to reward This Is Us, though, they're more likely to do that in an acting category, maybe for Sterling and an actor. So I don't think it's necessarily going to win drama series. I don't, being a network show on NBC, which airs the Golden Globes, that might help, but it also doesn't have that kind of cool prestige factor that a lot of times the Globes like. A lot of cable and streaming stuff tends to win from them lately. So I think it gets in, but I'm not sure it wins.
But Chris, now about prestige, yes, you got The Deuce, James Franco, Maggie Gyllenhaal over on HBO, and it's been well received. And but I got to ask you about The Good Doctor, because that's another broadcast show that's just doing gangbusters in the ratings. And it's right now in our odds, it's sort of just outside of getting a nomination. Couldn't you see that? That is kind of the hot new show, isn't it?
It is. I think they might. I have moved Freddie Highmore not only into my predictions, but I think he could win. That might be where they honor that show rather than in series, where it's just so difficult. I think I'm disagreeing with Daniel on This Is Us also. Westworld's out for sure. That's a slot open. That's probably Handmaid's Tale slot, let's say. I think This Is Us is in the worst position of the other 4 to get back in, because what you said, the broadcast. They love the freedoms of a streaming or a premium cable. So I just don't know. And then Stranger Things. It's tough. The one show that you didn't mention at all, Daniel, that I know has a massive push going on. They not only like to be the first to recognize a show, but they also remember what you said about stars. You know, they're one of the few that's recognizing stars on a regular basis. They love to recognize an entity also. You know, maybe with this first nomination, the Audience Network through DirecTV is really pushing hard on Mr. Mercedes, the Stephen King show. Don't write that off. Brendan Gleeson is a past Globe winner, surprising Globe winner the year he won. So that either the show or Brendan Gleeson, I could really see getting into a slot or two.
And it's to the fact that there's less than 100 voters, so you don't need that many in your corner. But about on the stars front, I mean, there's American Gods and there's Outlander. I mean, they have liked Outlander in the past. It's certainly doing really well right now. I mean, it's being talked about a lot for the current season. Is it time for it to break through at the series level? I mean, I know Katrina's been nominated, and is there? What do you think?
It was nominated 2 years ago. The series, 2 years ago, and then she was nominated both years. Once they've snubbed you, unless there's a really good reason otherwise, let's say in the series race, they don't tend to go backwards. So I don't know that it could get in for series. I wonder even about Katrina, you know, getting back in on actress, because they're also, I mean, they're also prone to just wipe the slate clean sometimes, just completely get rid of all five in a given category. So that's when we get to drama actor, I could really see that happening in drama actor.
Well, let's talk about it right now. So you got last year was Billy Bob Thornton won for Goliath, and the other nominees were Rami Malek for Mr. Robot, Bob Odenkirk, Better Call Saul, Matthew Rhys, The Americans, and Liev Schreiber, Ray Donovan. So those four other nominees are all eligible, right?
Everybody's eligible, but they're all older shows.
Right. So this is to your point.
I see Freddie Highmore getting in.
Yeah.
Before we figure out who's getting out. James Franco is almost a lot to get in. They love the film stars doing TV. Plus, he'll probably be on the film side, too, with Disaster Artist over in the comedy section. We just mentioned Brendan Gleeson. Jason Bateman, I think, is almost a lock.
That's for this new Netflix show called Ozark, right?
And it's his show. They love these auteurs, people that produce and star and write and direct. So I think they'll really be on board with that. Sterling may get in as much for, you know, let's not look like we're idiots here. You know, since he just won. He did not get in last year in supporting, which is where they were pushing him, but he was eligible and nominated for OJ. So it was not, I don't think, a matter of a snub last year. So if you put those three in, and then a Jonathan Groff I could see maybe getting in, a Dan Stevens, who also had Beauty and the Beast this past year, I could see maybe him getting in.
So Jonathan Groff from Netflix's new show Mindhunter, which is David Fincher, right. So that's prestige.
Right.
Dan Stevens is on FX with Legion. But you're right. It's to that what you were saying about the Hollywood foreign press and foreigners like Dan Stevens. You know, Freddie Highmore is English.
Right.
You know.
I think the two to watch for on a win would be Freddie and James Franco. I think those two. Freddie's also a producer on The Good Doctor and never been nominated at the Globes before, even though he's got a couple of SAG nominations. So, and plus he's going to get some bonus credits for, you know, wrapping up Bates Motel this past year, I think. So he's putting on a strong front. We did a Q&A session with him for SAG voters just a couple of weeks ago, and he is very charming, and I'm sure he's doing something similar with the Globe voters, you know, over the course of the next few weeks.
Where do you see that race going, Daniel, drama actor?
Well, I've got James Franco winning that. You know, as Chris said, he's the kind of movie star, does TV that they love. There, you know, he's got the Disaster Artist.
And he plays twins.
And he plays twins. It's a dual role. You know, although the twins, as he plays them, are fairly similar performances. But it is a dual role, and he is a movie star, and he's won before he became a big movie star. He won for the TV movie James Dean more than a decade ago. So he can get in. I think one name who we haven't talked about yet, and I mentioned American Gods for drama series, is Ian McShane. He won this category for Deadwood. He's a British actor. If American Gods does become that kind of stars show that they want to rally behind, I can see it getting drama and Ian McShane, and then potentially maybe even winning for McShane, depending on what the rest of the landscape looks like. He
Who are your five right now, Daniel?
It's literally changed, I think, twice while we've been talking. But right now I've got Franco, Sterling K. Brown. I just moved in Freddie Highmore, Jason Bateman, and Ian McShane. I took out Jonathan Groff, but I want to put him back in, but I don't know who to take out for him.
And they're not afraid of having big categories, right, Chris? I mean, we could see 7 nominees, for instance. I mean,
we could. Lately, though, it's been almost 5s across the board. Yeah. Really, every award show at this, especially that does television at this stage, should be at 6 at the very least, like a minimum. I mean, there's just too much television. I've got Freddie, Jason Bateman, James Franco, Brendan Gleeson, and Sterling K. Brown. That's my 5, which would wipe out last year's 5 completely.
Well, it's certainly, I'm looking at our sort of odds and who's predicting what. And there is this sentiment that Sterling K. Brown, I guess, based on his Emmy win, he's sort of, among our users, he's expected to win. And I guess by the same token, I mean, Elizabeth Moss is overwhelmingly favored to win. So who do we think are going to be the 4 or 5 women that at least will get to sit there and applaud while she takes the stage? Do we think Claire Foy for season 2 of The Crown? I mean, I think that's a given, but I've been wrong on so much of this. So.
Yeah, I think Claire Foy is safer for drama actress for nomination, at least, than the show is for drama series. That drama series is so crowded they might want to move on from The Crown entirely. But I think Claire Foy gets back in for drama actress, and I think Maggie Gyllenhaal gets in for The Deuce. After that is where I start to lose confidence. Right now I've got Katrina Balfe getting back in for Outlander, and I just moved in Laura Linney for Ozark. She's a previous Golden Globe winner, movie star doing TV, or in this case, streaming. But there are a number of people here who I think we might be underestimating if I scroll down this list.
What about you, Chris?
Yeah, it's not as deep as the men. I think Claire, Maggie, Elizabeth Moss. I would say it's really at 6 people. I mean, those 3: Katrina, Laura Linney, and who did I not name? Tatiana Maslany. I could see her coming back.
Isn't that interesting? Well, and we'll oftentimes bemoan, films and the lack of roles for women. And when we had a slugfest the other day about Best Actress at the Oscars, I mean, there were not only there 5 names that we said, oh yes, those women should be Best Actress nominees. There were at least another 5 that would have made another credible slate. And here we are struggling to sort of fill up on the TV side. And but as you said about Tatiana, I mean, there is this sort of notion of the retail politicking, like people talking to the Globe voters, doing events. So something like, Carrie Coon kind of is having a moment, I mean, and she certainly was between Fargo, The Leftovers, she's in the new Steven Spielberg movie. Does any chance that her name would be called out on nomination day?
I think there's a chance.
She's got a better, movie mini for Fargo, I think, is her better chance, although that's not even a lock. It's incredibly rare that a show that's been canceled gets a Globe nomination. It's just like the studio, the network, they're not really campaigning for it, even necessarily hoping for it. They would much rather use the Globes as a platform for new shows that need credibility or ongoing shows. It's just so rare for the Globes to do that.
Hey, Daniel, what about Catherine Langford, 13 Reasons Why? I mean, that was, talk about a buzzed about show, but now I wonder if it was buzzed about, not to take anything away from Globe voters, but they're probably more my vintage than yours. I mean, were they too old to get 13 Reasons Why?
No, I think actually the opposite. Its bigger problem is not so much the age of the voters in terms of the age of the characters, but in terms of maybe their memories are a little, they might not remember something from back in the spring. I think that's its biggest problem because the Globes have actually a history of doing well by these younger shows that get snubbed at the Emmys, like Sarah Michelle Gellar was nominated for Buffy, Kerry Russell won for Felicity, Gina Rodriguez won.
Claire Danes, I think.
Claire Danes for My So-Called Life, Rachel Bloom for Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. So it's the kind of show that they would love, and she's the kind of new breakout star they would love to reward. It's a question of whether they will reach that far back to a show that aired, that premiered back in the spring and all of its buzz was back then. I think actually they might, but it's going to be about their memories, whether they think to go back that far.
And so you mentioned Claire Danes and Kerry Russell. I mean, any chance for either of them, Chris? Kerry Russell's been nominated there before, and as have Claire Danes. Any chance for them making it in?
No.
Well, there, okay.
I think Kerry does have a better shot than Claire. I think because Kerry just got in last year. Even if the Americans doesn't get back in, as Chris mentioned, this isn't as deep a field as drama actors, so I can see them keeping her. But I don't have her in my five either.
Now, SAG would be where to watch out for, especially Claire. I mean, that wasn't even eligible last year.
So I'm curious because I watched this show. I like it. It didn't do anything at the Emmys, which I think I was surprised by. The Good Fight, CBS streaming. I don't know why it didn't click with the Emmy voters. I mean, maybe they just didn't see it. This is a smaller group. Wouldn't it? I would be thrilled if Christine Baranski got nominated. But now I'm afraid to ask Chris because I think I might get a no. So Daniel, do you think that Christine Baranski has a shot?
No.
Okay.
No, maybe, but the fact that that's another show that aired a while ago, it doesn't have that shiny and new factor because even though it's a new show, Christine Baranski's been playing this role for years, and so I don't think it has quite the shiny and new quality that the Golden Globes need to usually get behind a show.
Oh, okay.
Let me mention a couple of other names just since we're talking about depth. A brand new show, somebody they've honored before, Kira Sedgwick. I know ABC's pushing 10 Days in the Valley pretty hard. Don't totally discount her. Mandy Moore was nominated last year in supporting, and now she'll be in this potentially in this lead category. So we know they like that performance. And we just touched on Winona Ryder. We don't know exactly if Winona's still lead or if she would be on the ballot in support.
All right. Well, it's always illuminating to talk to you guys, but also to encourage people to make their predictions, because really, as much as we know, there inevitably somebody out there will do better in terms of their overall success rate at predicting the nominees and then the eventual winners, right, guys? I mean, we're always humbled by some of our users.
Yeah, and Globes are always fun because kind of the rules, but you don't know where they're going to apply those rules.
Right. All right. Well, so in another Slugfest, we'll talk about comedy, and we'll certainly come back and revisit this in the weeks to come leading up to nominations, and we might have completely changed our minds.